Hello, everyone. Welcome to a special episode of Meta Mentality. We are going to be talking about the Mei Melee Overwatch League's mid-season tournament, I guess we'll call it. This has been their response to the pandemic playing from home situation, and they announced earlier that they were doing this tournament as a way of sort of offsetting, I guess, the lack of home stands, to sort of break things up, make it interesting. So we have gotten our seeding. We are starting to see the playoff picture for how this playoff bracket is going to play out for these teams, and we have a North American division as well as an Asia division. Let's get our initial impressions. Beatdown Boulevard. What do you think here in terms of what do you think about these brackets? Are you excited about this?
Yeah, I definitely am. The tournament looks like it'll be fun. I'm interested in how it's going to play out. My only problem is the lack of a break between last week and then the Mei Melee because they say that there are no hero pools, and technically it's true the whole roster of characters are available now, but because there's no time for, especially now that Echo's in the game, there have been balance changes. Nobody knows what the game looks like without hero pools again. So it's just another hero pools, just with a couple more heroes than we are used to. So that I don't think is going to play out the way people might want it to, the way the league might think it actually goes. We might actually see a weekend similar to last just because teams don't have time to really try anything different.
Yeah, and Spencer, what about you? How are you feeling about this? Do you think the no hero pools is going to mean more interesting kind of meta, or is it going to be kind of more of the same?
Yeah, I think it's so. I actually think it's going to be a little bit more interesting of a meta. I agree with what Beatdown's saying in terms of it is like you're not going to see the perfection that you would see normally at like the end of a stage, for instance, right? Where you've had a meta with no hero pools go on for like a month and a half, and teams have really been able to like figure out the meta and like perfect it. You're not going to see that level of play. But I think the interesting thing that you're really going to see, and we can talk about this later when we get to our predictions, I think you're going to see teams really be able to play what they're good at. Unlike before, if you're a double shield team like the Soul Dynasty and Orisa was banned, you had no option, right? You had to mirror the Echo Dive or play like a Ryan Diva. You couldn't play to your strengths. I think you're actually going to see teams now where one team's going to be running an Echo Sombra Dive, and then one team's just going to be like, we're just running double shield because we're good at double shield. And then one team's just going to run rush comp like the San Francisco shot because they're really good at rush comp. So I do think that although you're not going to see that perfection, because I also think that the patch just went live, and I'm not sure if the Overwatch League's playing on it or not with like the on and nerfs and
No, I don't
whatnot.
think they will be.
They won't be okay. That's good. But either way, the point I'm still trying to make is I think you're going to see a lot more diversity in terms of teams like specifically playing to their strengths, as opposed to having to kind of play the meta on a week's notice because they can't play to their strengths because the character that enables that is banned.
That's a fair point. Well, I mean, it's kind of one of those things where it's there's anyone's guess how the actual matches are going to play out in terms of what we're going to see getting run. But we do get a good sense of who these teams are, which teams are going to excel, given what we've seen through the course of the season thus far, playing in various metas, seeing various adaptations. What are your guys' thoughts on who the top three teams are going to be? Let's start with the North American division. Beatdown, what about you? Who do you see as being the top three teams to really come to the end run of this tournament?
Well, I think we're probably gonna agree on the first two there, Spencer. First is gonna be Shock, second's gonna be Philly. Even if you want to argue in either direction, the point is they're the top two teams in NA. It's really hard to dispute that. You're gonna like my third pick though, a little spicy. I actually think it's gonna be the Florida Mayhem. Florida have had some real almost covert success throughout this season because you always think to yourself, wow, Florida Mayhem season one, bad. Season two, also bad. Actually, worse. So it's really hard to actually appreciate the work that they've done with coaching staff, with new players, actually reinvigorating this team and making it as good as it has been. Yeah, they got to play Boston twice. That's cool. But they've beaten some better teams as well. And I think in this tournament, the likes of Gangnam Jin, the likes of Yaki, they're really, if what you're saying is true, Spencer, they're really going to flex what they're good at. And I actually think Florida will sneak their way into the top three.
All right,
So I
Spencer. Yeah.
Yeah, I disagree with this because I think that Florida is getting a little bit overhyped right now simply because of the strength of schedule. Like, yes, they've won a couple in a row, but if you look at the teams that they've beat, it consists like the Boston Uprising and the Washington Justice. I know they had one good win, and I don't think they're a bad team, but I don't think they're the top 3 team that some people are making them out to be. At this point in time, I would still say my top 3, obviously Philadelphia and San Francisco Shock, regardless of who's retired from the Shock or who's been traded. They also just added Twilight. I think the San Francisco Shock are absolutely in that conversation.
Yeah,
for
I
top
love
3.
that.
Yeah, for sure. Like, there's no way around it. Same with the Philadelphia Fusion. They look like the best, or at the very least, one of the best teams in North America. So I expect those 2 teams to be at the top. My third place team is actually the Paris Eternal. Not only just because of the fact that I think their roster is, I think they're going to be able to run what I would consider the meta a little bit better than other teams. I think they actually have a pretty good like Mei McCree rush composition. I know that XZ can't play, and that's a little bit disappointing, but I still think Soon is really good on that role. And if they do have to swap on to like the Tracer or something, for instance, they have that ability. Soon's a fantastic Tracer. Nico can obviously play the Mei. And I think one of their biggest weaknesses earlier on in the year was their flex DPS or flex support play, sorry. And fielders look fantastic. 200 ping or not, he's been putting up really good numbers. So I do think that the Florida Mayhem are in that conversation for top 3. I still would put the Paris Eternal ahead of them.
Yeah, I think it's hard to argue that Paris has shown that they are a scary team. Although I'm sure that they would love to have XE, especially while they don't have Sparkle as of yet. But
it's too bad this didn't take place like 2 weeks in the future, right? Sparkle would have been able to play, but
oh my God, is it that soon? Is he almost 18?
Soon. Yeah, he's almost 18.
Yeah, it's fast approaching.
Long have we awaited.
Yeah, Sparkle watch continues. But I think Florida Mayhem also has, at the very least, a puncher's chance, given the way that they've played against some of the stronger teams this season. Now let's move over to Asia. Let's take a look at that bracket. We've got a much smaller bracket overall, with I think there's only 7 teams competing. Who do you guys think are going to be the strongest coming out of the Asia division?
I could beat this one first. Yeah.
No, I was going to say, Spence, go ahead.
Yeah. So I do think that right now, in terms of the strongest teams, I mean, Shanghai Dragons is the first one that comes to mind. So that would be kind of an obvious example. Yeah. But I actually do, for the top 3, I will put the New York Excelsior and the Seoul Dynasty in that conversation. And I actually might even favor the Seoul Dynasty simply because of the fact that they can now play double shield. I understand that when they've looked bad, they've looked horrible. But when they've looked great, they've looked like one of the best teams in the league, especially when they can play the double shield and even the kind of mirror the dive. They were able to beat teams like the Shanghai Dragons. I know their Echo play isn't great. That's a little bit of a concern of mine. If Echo truly is as broken as some people think that she is, then the inability for them to play Echo is going to hurt them. But at the end of the day, you now gave the Seoul Dynasty the ability to just simply run double shield, Marvel Gesture, Slime Badozin, and Fits and Profit on whichever heroes they want and the heroes that they're good at. Orisa Sigma Marvel Gesture is a really, really good tank line in this league. So I'm really interested to see their double shield comp go up against the Sombra Echo dive from other very powerful teams like the Spark or the Charge or the Hunters. And then the third team I got to put up there is NYXL. I know they're having this weird issue where they're like running Libero one week and not the other week, and they got to figure out their DPS lineup. But assuming they keep Libero in the lineup, I still think this is one of the best teams in the league. They're just really solid all around. I think they got good coaching, and I think they're going to have a good grasp on the meta. And at the end of the day, I think the argument would be either the Charge or the Spark to go against one of my teams for the top 3. Right now, there's a lot of uncertainty with the Spark, given their main tank situation. A lot of people don't think Gushui is going to be eligible to play. And if he can't, that really hurts him, and it's really unfortunate. And it's sort of the same with the Charge, that I'm not sure if Nero's going to play this weekend. We know that he's sort of feeling burnt out, and that there's potential visa issues going on with Nero, and they have to run Happy and Eileen. And Eileen's really good.
I was going to say, imagine forgetting about Eileen.
There's no disrespect to Eileen, but he's not as flexible, and he doesn't have the hero pool that Nero does. There's a reason why they're running Happy and Nero when Eileen was in the lineup, when Nero could be played. And I think that is because he's the better flex support, and it gives them more options. So I don't think it's not like, flex DPS. I don't think they're like losing Nero's the be all end all, because you're right. Eileen's extremely talented and is still a really good DPS player, but I do think it potentially hurts them from elevating them over teams such as the NYXL or the Seoul Dynasty.
Here's the thing. I mostly agree with what your top 3. Number 1, Shanghai, no brainer. Number 3, new NYXL. Yeah, that's fine. Especially if they play Libero, like they're still good. That is my asterisk. When they're playing Libero, I'm done with this. Who are you? This sunken cost fallacy where they just keep thinking like, no. Like this is the guy. Like we gotta. No, it doesn't work. don't care about that. But number 2, I gotta put the charge. I have pretty much zero faith in Soul Dynasty. You're depending it all on them being able to play double shield. I said earlier on in this very show right here, we don't know what that meta is actually going to look like. Maybe in this hero pool where all the heroes are available, double shield's actually not going to be that good, or double shield with Orisa. You can't bank a second place showing on that specific thing, because what if it is Echo Dive? What if it's Rhine Sigma Rush, or any of the other compositions that are out there? You can't bank it on that. I love me some Slime on that team, and I think he is one of those players who can just hyper carry, but he hasn't played with them yet. He's probably only just scrimming with them. It's not going to be enough to get them in that top 3. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Eileen isn't Nero, but he is damn close. And with the rest of their squad being as good as they are, Charge can comfortably sit number 2. That doesn't worry me at all.
And I do agree that obviously a little bit of this is predicated on the fact that I do think double shield is going to be meta. And even if it's not meta, I think it's going to be viable. And that's the important part. It might not be the meta that you see, but even if I'm thinking about a Sombra Echo dive, man, diving into an Orisa, Sigma, Mei McCree, Baptiste, Zenyatta sucks, right? Like that's not an easy composition to dive into. So while it might be like, again, if we had a month to prepare that strategy, you could probably figure out a ways to really pick apart the double shield composition. But on 5 days notice with the sustain that composition has, I think at the very least it's going to be viable, if not preferred, by more than a few teams. And the Soul Dynasty are so good on it.
Thanks for watching Meta Mentality. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe and follow us on social media. Find out where to follow us in the links below.